Hey everyone, welcome! Today, we're jumping right into one of the absolute most compelling mysteries of our time. We're taking a deep dive into the escalating evidence of global UFO encounters. And look, we aren't just talking about blurry lights in the sky anymore. We are looking at a compounding global dossier that builds from some really eerie wilderness folklore all the way up to highly documented modern-day threats to our critical infrastructure. I am incredibly excited to guide you through this evidence today, piece by piece. So let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our agenda for today's explainer. 1. The Grand Canyon Watchers. 2. Physical traces left behind. 3. Photographic and video proof. 4. The Tic-Tac phenomenon. And 5. Threats to global airspace. Starting right off with Section 1, the Grand Canyon Watchers, folklore and subtle warnings.
To really understand the roots of this phenomenon, we've got to look at places where the map just ends. The Grand Canyon is obviously an awe-inspiring natural wonder, but millions of visitors only ever see a tiny fraction of its immense, rugged terrain. Beneath the surface, there are these unmapped caverns and hidden valleys that have birthed some truly chilling folklore. What actually happens when you venture way off the trail? Well, according to recurring reports from experienced hikers, discovering a concealed cave entrance or a highly structured underground tunnel can trigger a pretty bizarre encounter. Explorers claim they're suddenly approached by mysterious individuals wearing dark suits. Now just picture that for a second. Dark suits in the 110-degree desert heat of the canyon. You'd think they'd at least wear khakis or a t-shirt, right? Yet, these figures appear without warning, and they display this uncanny, frankly impossible knowledge of the hikers' names, their backgrounds, and their exact exploration plans.
And the nature of these encounters is deeply unsettling. Here's exactly how it's often described. The reports rarely involve direct threats. Instead, the warnings are often subtle. Explorers are advised not to return to certain locations. It's wild because these figures don't point weapons. They just politely, but very firmly, encourage hikers to abandon their investigations. The result? Explorers leave with this profound, lingering sense of unease that completely kills their willingness to ever go exploring in remote areas again.
Moving on to Section 2. Physical traces left behind. Scars on the Earth.
Which brings us to a fascinating bridging question. What happens when eyewitness accounts escalate from campfire stories in the desert to actual, measurable scars on our planet? Let's compare two monumental, historic cases side by side. First, Valensole, France in 1965. A farmer witnesses an oval craft and two small beings. After the craft rapidly took off, authorities investigated and actually found compressed ground and lasting vegetation decay that stunted plant growth for literally years. Then, look at Voronezh, USSR in 1989. In broad daylight, a craft lands in a park, revealing towering 9-foot figures. And again, investigators measured massive, deep ground impressions left right there in the soil. Both of these cases left undeniable, long-term environmental anomalies that scientists could actually measure.
So, the crucial point is that this is where we cross a major line. We are no longer just dealing with folklore or spooky stories. These physical impressions elevate the phenomenon into subjects of rigorous scientific and environmental inquiry. When the soil itself is compressed and altered, we've got tangible evidence commanding real answers.
All right, Section 3, photographic and video proof. High-resolution anomalies.
Let's transition into the era of optical evidence. Ground traces are definitely vital, but what happens when high-grade professional camera equipment points up at the sky? 10,000. That is the altitude in feet where aerial photographer Sergio Luisa was flying in September of 1971. He was mapping Lake Côté for the National Geographic Institute of Costa Rica using a super sophisticated 100-pound automated cartographic camera. Snapping a high-res photo every 20 seconds, he accidentally captured something massive. A 120 to 220-foot metallic saucer hovering right between his aircraft and the Earth below.
The sheer credibility of this single image is staggering. The negative was scrutinized by renowned experts, including Dr. Jacques Vallée, and they definitively ruled out double exposure, camera malfunction, and lens debris. Because this was captured on top-of-the-line surveying equipment by a professional crew, it stands today as one of the most authenticated, exceptional photographs of a genuine aerial anomaly in recorded history. And let's move to 2007 and see how this builds, because this visual evidence only compounds as we enter the modern era of video. Between 2007 and 2009, in Kumburgaz, Turkey, a security guard named Yalçın Yalman captured a stunning series of videos. It started in July 2007 with a dome-shaped craft filmed from a balcony. By the summer of 2008, he was recording orange glowing spheres and metallic discs. And then, in May 2009, he captured basically the holy grail of UFO footage, the unidentified object, and the moon, right there in the exact same frame.
Now you might be wondering, why does getting the moon in the shot matter so much? It's because of a concept called angular elevation. To put it simply, astronomers can use the moon's angular diameter, which is about 0.5 degrees, like a cosmic ruler. If you have the moon and an unknown object in the exact same video frame, you can mathematically calculate exactly how high that object is in the sky. It takes the guesswork completely out of the equation.
And this brilliantly illustrates how hard data can totally silence the skeptics. Critics immediately claimed Yaman was just filming the bridge of a distant cruise ship out on the water. But researchers used Stellarium Planetarium software to prove the object was 7.9 degrees above the horizon. That is physically impossible for any ship on the water. Furthermore, Global Maritime Tracking (AIS) data proved there were absolutely zero cruise ships in the area at the time. Plus, we know for a fact the footage was shot from land, looking up. The entire cruise ship theory was mathematically dismantled.
What Ullmann actually caught with his 200x optical zoom was, well, it's unprecedented. The footage is so incredibly clear that it showcases distinct structural features of the craft and, amazingly, what appear to be occupants moving inside. Validated by state-sponsored institutions like the Turkish State Observatory as being completely free of any manipulation, this footage forcefully hints at non-human entities operating advanced technology.
Section 4. The Tic-Tac phenomenon, defying known physics. So now we shift our focus to the modern era of military encounters. We've seen the physical traces, we've seen the stunning video, but what happens when the most advanced military forces on the planet encounter objects that just ignore the laws of physics? Just think about this contrast. On one side, we have the Tic-Tac craft, entirely silent, capable of instantaneous acceleration, leaving absolutely no heat signature, and possessing zero wings, fins, or exhaust. On the other side, our apex conventional fighter, the F-22. It's incredibly loud. It relies on highly explosive fuel combustion, and it is ultimately constrained by the physical limits of aerodynamic drag and deadly G-forces. Humanity's multi-million-dollar apex predator, completely outmatched by an object that literally looks like a breath mint and seemingly manipulates gravity itself. This leads us to a highly scrutinized piece of our dossier, that viral leaked footage reportedly from 2013. A soldier aboard a 160th Night Stalker Black Hawk helicopter filmed a smooth, geometric object moving with breathtaking precision near Lake Mead and Fort Irwin in California. These objects aren't just appearing out in the middle of nowhere. They routinely operate with absolute impunity near some of our most highly sensitive, restricted military training sites.
And it brings up a massive, polarizing debate. Are we simply witnessing highly classified black-budget drones created by aerospace giants like Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works? Or, because these maneuvers so thoroughly break our current understanding of physics, are we looking at technology born of a non-human intelligence? We really have to weigh the implications impartially here, because honestly, both possibilities represent a terrifying leap in capabilities that the public is entirely unprepared for.
And that brings us to Section 5, Threats to Global Airspace, the Disruption of Critical Infrastructure.
The narrative really escalates to its climax right here. We're moving away from observational military encounters and training zones to direct, paralyzing interference with civilian infrastructure. Now, what's really interesting about this timeline is the sheer coordination of it all. On the evening of September 22, 2025, the skies over northern Europe became a stage for a massive disruption. Huge glowing green drones appeared over Copenhagen, entirely shutting down the airport for 4 hours. And almost simultaneously, identical unidentified drones appeared over Oslo, Norway, closing that airspace for 3 hours. Two of Scandinavia's busiest capitals completely paralyzed on the exact same night.
The details of this event completely shatter any illusion of secure European airspace. Witnesses described massive, glowing green objects that hovered steadily for hours, which far exceeds the battery limits of any conventional drone we know of. They shut down 2 major capitals simultaneously, leaving tens of thousands of people stranded. And perhaps the most alarming part? Current anti-drone technology, including advanced military radars and jammers, proved entirely insufficient against them.
It's a chilling reminder, really, of the absolute fragility of modern aviation. Whether these glowing green anomalies are state-sponsored advanced surveillance vehicles or something else entirely, the undeniable truth is that our critical infrastructure is currently defenseless against them. They operate exactly when and exactly where they want.
So let's just look at the incredible journey we've taken in this explainer. We started with subtle warnings and strange figures in the remote, unmapped depths of the Grand Canyon.
We saw that escalate to measurable physical scars left in the soil of France and Russia. We witnessed undeniable high-resolution optical captures and leaked military footage. And finally, we arrived at the present day, where synchronized aerial threats are actively paralyzing international airports. The evidence has compounded into a very real, modern global security crisis.
We are left staring up at the sky, demanding answers. Because as these silent, glowing crafts hover entirely unchecked over our capitals and military bases, the ultimate question remains: are we the masters of our own airspace, or are we merely spectators in a reality much, much larger than ourselves? Thank you so much for exploring this remarkable evidence with me today. Keep looking up and keep questioning everything.